You've probably seen this throughout your talk today, but if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to a page where you can leave some feedback for today's presentation. It'd be great to know what you liked about the presentation, most importantly, what I can do to make it better if you didn't like it. The agenda for today's talk, I'll begin by introducing myself and speaking a little bit about my motivation for doing this talk. We'll then jump into the presentation, where I'll start by highlighting some of the main issues and injuries that can be caused whilst working at a desk, and I'll highlight the root causes of this. I'll then explain what the perfect desk setup actually looks like and what things we should take into consideration when we talk about a great desk setup. I'll then finish up by running through some practical tips and exercises we can do. This last section will be interactive. I will be demonstrating these exercises, and I'd love it if everyone could join in, if you feel comfortable to do so. If not, just sit back and enjoy me making a bit of a fool of myself. I know you probably had to walk up 100 stairs to get here today, and I promise you these exercises won't be too strenuous, and you can do them whilst being completely seated. So a bit about me. My name is Faisal Hussain. I am 26 years old, and I am a consultant with Adatis. Adatis are an AI and data consultancy. We partner with Microsoft, and we build modern data platforms, as well as meeting other data and AI needs for our clients. And I've been with Adatis for approximately 2.5 years now, and probably like most of you sat here today, I've spent the majority of that time sat working at a desk. And although I'm at the start of my career and I'd consider myself being fairly active, I've really started to notice over the last couple of years aches and pains in places where I've never had them before, namely in my back. And I've realized this is due to me being hunched over at my desk and not having a correct posture or desk setup. So I've really strived to educate myself and replace these bad habits with healthier ones that I can use throughout my career and hopefully increase my health later in life. And so everything I present to you today are tips and tricks that I've found to be really helpful for myself. And what's important to note is I'm not a health professional, so please don't quote me to your GP. And what I'd love, time permitting, at the end is to know what works well for you lot and any tips and tricks you have. So to get into it, the main issues and root causes, I thought, seeing as we are all predominantly data people here, I'd start with a few facts. So 80,000 hours is approximately the time we'll spend working at a desk over the course of our entire life. Obviously, this is a huge amount of time, so any bad habits we have can really amplify. And conversely, any healthy habits we have can really pay dividends later in life. So it's important, no matter where we are in our career, to really try and correct our posture and build those healthy habits as early on as possible. And across this 80,000 hours, 85% of us will experience some form of occupational health complaint. This could be anything from back pain to eye strain. And billions of pounds every year are spent dealing with these issues. So even if we could reduce this by a small percent, this would translate into millions of pounds savings, which could be used in other areas of the NHS. So what are the main issues we can experience whilst working at a desk? Number one is musculoskeletal diseases. This includes things such as back pain and neck pain. Number two is eye strain and fatigue. So when we're sat at a desk staring at a screen all day, we can get digital eye strain, and this is further exacerbated by having inadequate lighting set up in our rooms. And lastly, repetitive strain injuries, which can be used by prolonged periods of time using your keyboard and mouse and having the incorrect setup, so you're at an awkward angle. And some of the root causes of these issues are, firstly, a sedentary lifestyle. So when we're sat at a desk all day long, we're not engaging our muscles, and this causes reduced blood flow, and this reduced blood flow can really cause a lot of health issues. Two is poor ergonomics. I'll define exactly what ergonomics is on the next slide, and its importance to a good desk setup, but poor ergonomics includes things like having a chair with inadequate back support or having an inadequate desk setup, which might be at the incorrect height. And lastly, lack of awareness. Some people, including myself, may not have been aware of the importance of things such as having the correct desk setup or the importance of things such as taking regular breaks. So the perfect desk setup, as promised, firstly, ergonomics is the study of people's efficiency in their working environment. And a good desk setup is one that aligns with the natural human body movement. So in other words, a great desk setup is one that incorporates ergonomics and works with the human body. So this is what the perfect desk setup looks like and what we should all try and strive to reproduce at home. Now to break it into its individual parts, we start with the desk. Ideally, we want the desk to be at elbow height, and what I mean is obviously your seated elbow height, so your elbows can be completely flat on it. Next, we move on to monitor. We want the monitor ideally to be 50 to 100 centimeters away from us, and we want the top of the monitor to be at eye level. Many of us will have a laptop as well as a monitor, and this applies to the laptop as well. And what's a great idea is to get a laptop stand. It only costs a couple of pounds, and it really will reduce the amount of strain we put on ourselves. Next, when we have the monitor at the top of our eye level, it means our neck and head is not hunched over, but is back and relaxed, and equally our shoulders are nice and relaxed. Next, we move on to the elbow and wrist. So ideally, we want to have our elbow at a 90-degree angle and completely flat on the desk, which ensures the wrists are straight and we're not putting any bending on the wrist. With back and lower back, we want to have our chair at a 90-degree angle, or ideally at a very slight forward angle, and we want to ensure we're sat completely back against the chair and that the chair offers lower back support. Then moving on to the thighs, we want the thighs to be parallel to the floor, completely flat on the chair, and ideally a 90-degree angle on our knees, and we want the height of the chair to be such that our feet are completely flat on the floor. And then other things to consider when we are talking about perfect desk setup is screen brightness and glare. So we want to have the brightness of our screen. We don't want it to be too bright where it's hurting our eyes, and equally not too dull where we're really straining to see what's going on. And we want to not have our laptop directly in front of a window to reduce the amount of glare, but I appreciate this is not always possible with our office setups. So things such as an anti-glare screen cost only a few pounds and are a great idea. Next is lighting. So this is the lighting within our rooms. We want to have ideally a mixture of natural as well as artificial lighting in our rooms. Next, moving on to practical exercises and tips. I always ask the question, would you run a marathon without warming up? And that is what our desk life is. We spend 80,000 hours across our life sat at a desk. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so we should warm up every single day. And as promised, this is the start of the interactiveness where I will demonstrate the exercises. Please feel free to join in. With the warm-up exercises, there's an infinite amount of exercises you can do, but here's just a handful of my favorite. Number one is neck stretches. If you're like me and you've woken up with a bit of a sore neck from maybe sleeping at a weird angle, it's really important we warm up our neck and stretch it, ready to begin our working day. So with neck stretches, we just want to look to the right and hold that for about 5 seconds, and then look to the left and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and really stretch our neck. And then we can also repeat that by looking down for 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, and up for 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you should feel nice stretch in your neck, and that really just warms up the muscle, gets the blood flowing to your neck. And next we move to shoulder rolls. So again, we just want to get the blood flow in our shoulders. So we'll roll our shoulders forward 10 times. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then back 10 times. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, this just gets the blood flowing to our shoulders, gets them nice and loose, ready to begin our working day. And then we move on to wrist circles. So we're going to be using our wrists all day with our keyboard and mouse. It's important to get them nice and warm. So we just begin by moving our wrists. And what's interesting to see is when you do wrist circles, which way you're moving your wrists. Naturally, everyone tends to do opposite directions, and that's just the way that the two halves of our brains work. Now, if you try and move your wrists in the same direction, how uncomfortable and unnatural does that feel? And that's just the way our brain works. But yeah, whatever feels comfortable, move them in that direction 10 times, and then the reverse direction 10 times, and that will just nicely warm up our wrists to start the day. So now we're nice and warmed up, we can start our working day. What's important to note is when we're working, it's crucial we take breaks. I recommend taking a 5-minute break every hour. So set a timer on your phone for 55 minutes, and it's scientifically proven we can roughly concentrate for an hour, and after an hour, concentration really starts to diminish. So especially if you're hitting a bit of a wall with your work, it can be great for overcoming these barriers. And what's important in this break is, number one, is just to get moving. To physically get up off your chair, just walk back and forward in your room, or go fill up your water bottle, just to really remove you from that environment and to get the blood flowing to your legs in particular. Next is eye exercises. So when we're sat at our desk all day, we're only using our short vision and the muscles involved for that, and these don't really get a chance to relax. So when we're taking our breaks, what's important is to focus on an object that's far away and to use those muscles that are responsible for long vision and to give those short vision muscles a chance to really relax. Next is deep breathing. So we want to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth and really get our oxygen flowing and the blood flowing, and this would really relax us for 5 minutes, and then go back to work and we'll feel a renewed energy, and we can get over mental blockers as well as physical blockers. But I do appreciate you may sometimes be in a call, so it's not always possible to get up on a call. So here's some recommendations. If you have your camera off on your call, then just get up and pace around back and forward, as long as you can still communicate. But if you do have your camera on and you're feeling brave, I'd still recommend you get up and pace around. And if anyone on the call asks what on earth you're doing, you can then explain the importance of taking a break to them and get them to all stand up and walk around. So you've not just benefited yourself, you've also benefited everyone else on the call. Win-win, really. Next is leg lifts. So if you can't physically get yourself up from your chair, you can do some leg lifts. There's 2 variations of these. The first one is you can literally just go up on your toes and just stretch your calves and just repeat that. And the next one is you can swing your legs up. So whilst you sat down, just go up and hold them for a few seconds and back down and just repeat that. And again, that will just get the blood flowing to your legs, otherwise they'll just be stationary there all day long. Next, I ask again, would you finish a marathon without cooling off? I'd like to think the answer would be no for a majority of people. And this is, again, how we should view working at a desk. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so it's crucial we cool down. Again, there's an infinite amount of post-workout exercises you could do, but here are a few of my favorite. Number 1 is seated spinal twist. So whilst you're sat on your chair, you can do this seated or stood up. You literally just look to the right and twist your spine. And especially if you have an armrest, you can grab onto your armrest for an extra twist. And you just hold that for a few seconds, and then look the other way and really twist your spine, hold it, and you should feel a nice stretch on your muscle there. And you can repeat that 3 times. Secondly is forward fold. So again, you can do it seated or stood up. And for this one, we literally just lean forward and fall down and just hold for a few seconds. Oh, and you should just feel a nice stretch on your back. And then for the last one, this is probably my favorite one. This is chest opener. So for this one, we want to clasp our hands behind our back, but we want to keep our arms as straight as we can. And you should feel your chest really push out. And some of you might even get a few clicks out on your back. And this, I find, is the best one, especially if you've been hunched over. It really just unstretches you. I love doing this at the end of the day. And just hold for a few seconds, and you can repeat, all 3 of them 3 times. And there are a few post-workout exercises you can do. Again, there's the QR code if you want to leave some feedback. I'd love to know what you enjoyed, and more importantly, what I could do to improve. Thank you very much for your time. Does anybody have any questions or want to share any thoughts of what they find works for them? Perfect. Oh, sorry. Are slides uploaded online? Sorry. Yeah, I've put my session out so the slides would be available after today. But I'm sure an email will go around with all the information how you can access slides from any of the talks today. So the question was around standing desks and perhaps is there the right amount of time to use them before they become counter-effective. I think standing desks are great, as in they get you stood up, using your muscles, gets that blood flowing. But if you're finding you're then hunching over, it's important just to listen to the body sometimes, and that's your body just telling you it's starting to get a bit fatigued. So maybe after that 10-minute point, just lower it down and sit back down, and you can set yourself an alarm. Maybe you could do that every hour, 10 minutes standing up, 40 minutes sat down, or 50 minutes sat down, so whatever works best. But just as long as you stood up for some part of the day, it's good just to get it flowing, and also can help you focus. I find it helps me focus being stood up. But that's what I'd recommend. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the talk.